I just want to start off before we get going by wishing you all a very warm welcome to the CyberTech Institute of Australia's Open Day for our full stack developer program. My name is Dave Cohen and I'm the General Manager for CTIA. CTIA is a proud division of the Risk to Solution group of companies with CEO and world-renowned authority on Risk to Solutions, Dr. Gav Schneider at the helm. Risk to Solutions are leaders in integrated risk solutions, protecting what counts. The speakers that we have lined up today for you will provide you with all the information that you need to know, looking at the profession from various angles, from the industry to the course material, the journey, the job market, and how CTIA gives you that little bit extra to ensure that you are job ready once you have completed the program. Our trainers have highly qualified skills of engagement, technical ability, practical experience, and a real working knowledge of the industry that they're going to prepare you to enter. During the program, which will expose you to international guest trainers, which will add a totally different dimension to your experience with us. Israeli-based company wawiwa provides the content of the programs that you'll work through. Israel, being the tech innovation hub of our time, have developed the most relevant and sought-after material by the finest cyber minds in the world. Our advisory committee is comprised of industry specialists and major corporate role players in cyber, ensuring that our programs are aligned with the needs of the industry. The members of the advisory committee are champions in their various fields in cyber, have the right of first refusal to hire any graduate after the completion of the program. Coupled with the cutting-edge program material powered by wawiwa and the best trainers the country has to offer, CTIA goes far beyond delivering just course material. We have a pulse, we have a soul, and we have your best interests at heart. You are here because you understand and believe the need for full stack developers is constantly high, as portrayed by CyberSeek, and the outlook over the next decade is extremely promising. As the next hour unfolds, our expert panel will provide you with invaluable insights to your new chosen career path as a full stack developer. Without further ado, I will now outline the structure of the next hour. Kicking off our session will be Sean Finn, who is an active member of our advisory board. I'll elaborate on Sean in just a minute, but Sean will be speaking on the key technology trends shaping Australian business this coming year. Following Sean, our very own Ron Amram, General Manager of Training and Education in the group, who will give you an introduction to the program and speak about career development opportunities as well. We'll then welcome Leah Mansour, who has joined us live from Israel, who is from wawiwa and will take us through the program curriculum and technology overview. Charlene Clark has given us a valuable time to join us today and paint the picture of what the IT job market outlook is for the coming year. CTI's lead career consultant, Linus Hogan, will go through the enrollment process with us. We'll then have an opportunity to address any questions that you may have, or you may address them directly on your microphones to our speakers. Throughout our time together, as Ron mentioned a little bit earlier, there's a little Q&A button at the top of your screen. Please feel free to continue posting your questions throughout the Q&A, throughout the session in the Q&A box, and we will get to them at this point. Well, I'm certainly not the guy that you've come here to listen to, so let's get the show on the road. As I mentioned a moment ago, Sean Finn is an invaluable member of our advisory board. For the past 5 and a bit years, Sean has been with Boeing working in different areas of the business, and most recently, Sean is the product owner for secure platforms and classified environments. Sean's area of expertise is not only limited to aviation, but mining and defense as well, which makes up the more than 20 years of experience that Sean has in ICT. Sean's passion for incident prevention and automating security into the software supply chain is one of the many reasons we are grateful to be able to work with Sean. Our visions are aligned. Like I said, I'm not the guy you're here to listen to. So Sean, please take control, and it's over to you.
Thanks very much, Dave. Thank you for the intro too. So thank you all for joining us. Today I'll be talking about some key trends shaping Australian business in 2022. So 2022, it's all about keeping our distance away from each other, right? So how do we stay connected while we're actively trying to stay apart? That's the big question. The number one trend, office and tech work has moved to a remote model already rather than in person. And it's now the primary form of knowledge work, working remotely. If continual lockdowns have taught us anything, it's that office managers and CEOs want everyone back in the office 5 days a week, and everybody else wants to work from home close to 5 days a week as possible. But what we're seeing, this is starting to stabilise, and there's a shift for knowledge workers working in an office 2 to 3 days a week and from home 2 to 3 days a week. So that's where it's balancing out. The most common days in the office that are being worked out is Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, with Monday and Fridays working from home blending into the weekend. So that's the number one trend we're going to see. More than half of all customers now excuse me, are interacting online first. Online is the primary point of all customer contact across Australia and globally and within the Australian Pacific region. That's huge. Shop fitters and shop fronts are now on the decline, and virtual shop fitters that are digitally savvy and can build websites and all of those other cool techie things are in increasing demand. Customer expectations are changing too. Most customer service and after-sales support will be performed online first rather than in person. In December 2019, 36% of all customer interactions were online. In 2020, 58% of customer interactions were online globally. These are statistics from McKinsey. This trend's continued throughout 2021 and is expected to continue into 2022 and beyond. 75% of the Australian population shopped online in 2021, and this is expected to hit 77% by 2025. All online shopping is expected to continue with this growth trend. E-commerce revenue in Australia is expected to experience a compound annual growth of between 2021 and 2025 of 4.2%, resulting in a projected whole of market volume by 2022 of 45 billion Australian dollars. So that's huge. We're moving online. Products themselves have become digitised at an accelerated rate. More than half of all products available in our region have a digital component. This isn't just things you might like to buy online. This is everything, groceries and the whole lot. Up from 30% 3 years ago to 54% of the market today, and that's matching the global trend of about 55%. We're seeing the rise of social shopping. So this is using social media to find products and services. You might be texting your friends saying, hey, where can I find a thing? Or asking other people's opinions or going online to their store. In a report from Instagram, 90% of all users follow at least one business account, with 83% of Australians saying that they've discovered a new product or service while using the Instagram platform. We're also experiencing scarcity in the supply chain, with digital tools helping us find the lowest fuel price in our area, or the availability of a RAT test, although that hasn't seemed to work out too well, but things like that are going online. So we'll see more of that in our future. Connectivity is faster and accessible in more places. 5G is becoming widespread, faster connectivity while we're on the move, and faster fixed connection speeds when you're at home or in the office. We can tap into the digital aspects of a product while we're on the move, often comparing prices or availability or product specifications to see if it's what we really want. Imagine standing at Bunnings and having a look at all the different barbecue specs and ratings that people are talking about. Or source availability. You go to a shop and they haven't quite got what you want, so you look for the nearest store that has it. So those things are going to increase. The more data we use, the faster we'll accelerate how much data we're going to use as time goes by. So think the difference between static pictures on a website versus video demonstrations now becoming the norm. So we're going to use more data. Likewise, more things will be connected and exchanging data. So we'll be able to get data points on lots and lots more of these digital things. Wearable health is one of them. So there's a big trend with that. They'll be able to monitor us day and night. Digital monitors, there's a news article I read this week, predicted a lady who had COVID because it noticed an alteration in her heart rate before she even noticed. Now, think about how many devices you might have around your home that have Wi-Fi. So I know I've got a Wi-Fi connected Christmas tree set of lights, handheld gaming devices, iPads, normal lights, TVs, sound systems. I've got voice-activated air conditioning. Maybe I'm the only one, as well as computers. I've got all of these different things around my house. That trend's going to continue. That kind of proliferation is going to leave the home with you, and you'll have more things that travel on you, on your person, in your car, and even the car itself will be connected. So lots more things about to happen. Decentralized trust, blockchain. I'm not sure if you've heard about non-fungible tokens, these NFTs that are popping up, and zero trust environments. We can now transfer a variety of digital assets or make digital contracts anonymously and instantly globally. We've all heard by now about Bitcoin and Ethereum and those kinds of things, but there are lots more applications emerging. Excuse me. There's an application emerging in a virtual gaming marketplace where the gamers will be able to own a virtual asset. They'll find an item in game, and that's their one. And if they want to transfer it to another person, they'll be able to do that with one of these non-fungible tokens. Long after they've ceased playing the game, maybe 5 years down the track, they still own these things, these items in game, and they can sell them for real-world dollars. So that's the kind of application that we're going to see emerging. It'll have a huge impact in virtual worlds such as the metaverse. So there'll be applications for virtual real estate or virtual artwork in that virtual world. So we're not quite sure what's going to happen there, but watch that space. Distributed computing accelerates. Cloud adoption is now mainstream. We've all heard about the cloud, but what's on the fringe is this thing called edge computing. It's shifting the compute away from centralized mainframes closer to where it's actually happening. Portable devices that are now capable of image recognition and machine learning. They're small enough, compact enough, and consume much less energy than they used to, and that allows them to perform their functions and be included on, for example, agricultural equipment, where they can detect weeds versus crops and do pinpoint zapping weeds, etc. So that kind of application is going to occur. There's also a shift away from these central cloud computing data centers to edge centers. So data centers in all of our different regional hubs to support that. So it's not just now a major city and thing on a farm or thing on a mine. You've got these little digital things out there connected to all the devices, calling back somewhere very, very close in your regional cities and not necessarily back to the main city. So that's going to happen. Other emerging fringe tech that it sounds pretty cool to watch. We've got the metaverse, AI and automation, quantum computing, and large-scale cyber attacks are on the increase. Next generation quantum computing, it's in its infancy, but it's expanding, allowing us to access some of the most complex mathematical problems that have been plaguing our brightest minds for decades. Distributed connected virtual reality is here with Facebook's metaverse. You've probably all by now heard Facebook rebranded itself as Meta. This is a step in that direction. You've got a headset called the Oculus Rift 2 that you can buy and put on, and all of a sudden you're in the metaverse. And it allows interaction in new and ever-evolving ways in this three-dimensional world. And it's still trying to find its place. We're not sure how we're going to use it, but that's one of the fringe techs that's evolving. Quantum computing, able to solve in seconds what might take a classical computer trillions of years, literally. And there's implications around cybersecurity, and this is that it'll be able to break our current cryptography, or at least threaten it, and all of our current security is kind of gone by the wayside. So we'll need to look at that next thing. AI, machine learning, and automation are now becoming more widespread. You might not have noticed it so much, but they're becoming used in increasing ways for assisting businesses to make intelligent decisions on the things that matter to them. So, and that's by sorting through all of these millions of data points that businesses are now starting to collect. The skill shortage continues. There's an increasing demand and a predicted shortage for skill shortages for tech skills in Australia. So the current shortage of tech skills is fueled both by an increasing demand in all of this tech, but also by border closures due to COVID-19. The borders are opening up, right? So what does that mean for future demand? The skill shortage research is located on the Australian Government's National Skill Commission website, the NSC. Software engineers, developer programmers, and ICT security roles are listed in all states as having both a current shortage and strong future demand, a projected shortage right through to 2025. And that trend's likely to continue. In the Australian Financial Review, one business owner working with data and machine learning for businesses states that the cost of hiring skilled professionals and software developers security specialists and data experts has gone up by about 30% in Australia in just 12 months. That's the quote. And that's happening with good reason. All businesses in 2022 require skills in security, working with data, cloud, and software development skills just to do business. There's never been a more opportunistic time to upskill, cross-skill, or change careers in a tech than is occurring right now. And with that opportunity in mind, and just around the corner, I'm going to pass on to our next speaker.
Sean, I have to say that every time I listen to you speak, and the knowledge that you impart is just honestly quite inspiring. So thank you for sharing your insights with us. It's a great treat for us. Thank you. Right, now, Ron, our GM of Training and Education in the group, has a real passion for training and teaching and what he does, spanning over a few generations in his family. Sometimes you'll even notice Ron shares a little bit of a tear from the pure love of what he does. Ron, I'm sorry I gave away your secrets, but I admire him. So over to you, sir.
Thanks very much, Dave, and thanks very much, Sean. That was a lot of very, very interesting information. The long and short of it, I think, following on from all the great information from Sean, is that the world is moving in this way, and we have to move with it. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Just a little bit about me and how I'm connected to CTIA. So my name is Ron Amram. I'm the General Manager of Training and Education for the Risk to Solution group of companies, of which CTIA is a part of. I've been a teacher for 23 years now. Everything from primary school to postgraduate in a dozen different fields, with the majority of my time spent doing coordinating online learning for universities and working in that same field as a consultant for a really long time. But what I'm passionate about, as Dave mentioned before, is not just giving people a little bit of information and a boring online course that we've all seen before, tick a box and here's a piece of paper. That's really not what I'm interested in and what I'm passionate about. What I'm passionate about is how do we give people skills that will actually make their lives better and make them perform better in the workplace. And that's really what we're hoping to do here with CTIA. So I'll take you a little bit through some of the statistics and the program. Cool. So some interesting information for you there. Average full-time salary in Australia currently sits at just over $67,000 per year, while the average full-stack developer salary in Australia sits at about $50,000 more than that, $117,000 and change. Okay, significant difference. As Sean alluded to previously, Australia needs roughly 156,000 new technology workers by 2025. That's in the next 3 years. And full-stack developers top the list for the top 5 most in-demand permanent IT roles in Australia. So what we're seeing is not only a huge shift towards the tech industry, but also growth in permanent roles, with full-stack developers sitting at the top of that requirement list. Now, a growing number of web development jobs offer remote work opportunities, and we touched on that previously as well. The world is changing. We've got lockdowns, we've got COVID, we've got restrictions, we've got a different work-life balance that we used to have 5 or 10 years ago, or even last year. And with a full-stack developer role or with tech roles, you get a lot of that flexibility. Finally, projected 8% growth in the job outlook for web developers between 2019 and 2029, with 22% growth for software developers. So, if you're sitting in a position where you're going, I want to transition to a new career, this is something that I'm interested in, that I'm passionate about, this is a really good time to do it. From the hiring perspective, there is a 30% projected job growth for full-stack developers in the next 5 years. And 35% of hiring managers claim that full-stack development was the #1 role to fill in the last 2 years. Okay, so again, huge demand for that, and for permanent roles as well. And finally, 53% of recruiters will have more budget to recruit software developers in 2022. And we've got the wonderful Charlene Clark, who will talk to us a little bit later, and I'm sure she will be able to elaborate on that point. But what we're really seeing is the growth in demand both as a great opportunity for people who are delivering those services, but also the fact that hiring managers are explicitly saying that this is something that they are after and are having a hard time filling. Now, a little bit about the program itself. So the Full Stack Developer Program is a 12-month part-time program, roughly 450 academic hours. This is an entirely online program, so 100% online. Out of that, roughly 70% will be hands-on practice. So one of the things that is really, really important, and I touched on that, Dave touched on that, Sean touched on that, is that ability to have real-world skills, not just a paper certificate. So with the type of course that we deliver, you will actually build a portfolio as part of your course, which is something that when you go for a job interview, you can then show. So you would develop knowledge of software development, frameworks, programming, so JavaScript, Angular, MySQL, and development tools. And you'll also gain skills in problem solving, coding, and teamwork through hands-on experience. And these are some of the key employability skills that employers actually look for. Okay, so being able to code is one thing. Being able to work with other people, manage time, right, manage projects is a whole nother thing, quite often more important. Finally, we've got our final Bring It Together projects, and this is where you will take all these elements and put them together into something you can add into your portfolio. Now, CTIA is a wawiwa-tech training center. wawiwa-tech is an Israeli company that created what I believe is the best training methodology and series of courses rather, in the world for tech and cyber. And we're very proud to be a part of that. Now, a couple of the things that make this type of training so good, right? And we talked a little bit about the quality of the trainers and the demand and all that kind of stuff, but we've got our virtual cyber labs where you'll be conducting the majority of your actual programs. These are online, and they are, pardon me, the benefit of working from home is I've got my 3-year-old trying to talk to me while I'm doing this. Excuse me, honey, go right now. I also have a little souvenir for her for good luck. So there we go. So the cyber labs where you'll be conducting all of your actual assessments, interacting with your teammates, delivering the actual project. We've got our Bring It Together projects. We'll have masterclasses and workshops by some of the best tech experts in the world who will join in to give you their experience, and career consulting as well, which I'll talk about in a second. Finally, when you graduate, you're going to be part of a national network, which will open up a lot of doors. You'll get to meet a lot of cool people in the space that you are looking to be in. So we will help you get a tech job, right? Part of the course is our placement department will help you with CV preparation, with job interview simulations, and exposure to potential employees. We also have strong collaboration with tech industry leaders and prominent enterprises who are looking to recruit. So we will connect you with these people. And final interesting statistic for me before I hand you over to the wonderful Leah is over 70% of graduate of wawiwa-tech partners, which we are, find a job in their new profession within 2 months of graduation. In other words, when you complete your full stack developer program, 70% of graduate will find a job as a full stack developer within 2 months of graduation, which is really what we're about. So with that in mind, I will hand you over to the wonderful Leah Mansour, who is the VP of Business Development at wawiwa. And I think Dave has 1 or 2 things to say. I will jump over and see what my 3-year-old wanted just very, very quickly. I'll be right back.
Ron, I'm sure nothing that can't be sorted out with an ice cream or a packet of chips. We're in the same boat here, so I'm sure we can. Ron, ever impressive as always. Thank you, informative and amazing to be a part of. Before I hand over to Leah, who will now take us through the curriculum and the technology overview. Leah has a pedigree in training and education that spans over 30 years, for the past 15 plus years in global business development. Leah is the Vice President of Business Development at wawiwa in Israel, brains behind this program as well as many others that we offer. Leah, it's a real honor to have you address us today. Thank you. Click, take control, and the
Thank you for having me, and Hello from Israel. Here is early morning, so I'm very happy to join this meeting. We're all talking about the full stack development, and I'm not sure that everyone understands what is their job role and what does it means. But basically, a full stack developer is a person who can develop both clients and server software. If you want to call it, it's the Jack or the Jacqueline of all trades, which enables them to actually participate in any job role which is developing related. So in addition to mastering languages and services like HTML and CSS, you will also know how to program browser, program a server, program database. Now, all of this might sound a little bit foreign language today, but I promise you that when you graduate, these will be terminology that you will be able to use very, very easily. When we're looking at the capabilities, and I think that I believe that Ron have mentioned that, we are designing our programs at wawiwa, which we call it the job effective training design. We're looking at the set of skills which are required for the job role. We're not just teaching you technologies, the current technologies of today, but we're trying to teach you the skills which are required to be a successful developer. And we're talking about problem solving. We're talking about teamwork. We're talking about the ability to self-study. We're incorporating concepts like algorithm, the front end, the back end, SQL, which is the database. And of course, we're using technologies. Now, the level of technologies, there's a list which is relevant today. It might not be relevant 2 years from now or 10 years from now. Technology keeps on changing. And it is this close collaboration that we're having with the industry at all times which makes us very, very current. It is very important for any training company to understand what are the requirements of the industry, the global industry requirements and the local industry requirements in Australia. So we can offer the best and most relevant program for our students. So if we're looking at the structure of the course that we are offering, as mentioned, this is roughly a 450 academic hours. And I would like to divide it to two major sections. One is the front end, which is the customer-facing side of software development. And we're going to be learning many, many technologies from HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Ajax, Angular. You know, the list just goes on and on. And the second part of this learning is the back-end part, which is the thing that the customers do not see, but are very, very essential in development. Obviously, from the SQL, Node, Spring, routing, and of course, deploying everything on the web. We are using, as Ron mentioned, it's a hands-on activities. So you will be asked to practice during the sessions themselves at home, and of course, doing 3 major bring it together projects. First project will be after your front end section will finish. Second project will be somewhere in the middle of the back end. And of course, the last project with the full stack encompasses everything that you have studied from the beginning to an end to make sure that you actually understand everything that you study. So this is not a theoretical course. This is an extremely hands-on practice. And you will be required to demonstrate the things that you have learned. And that will also keep you in line with the entire class to make sure that you're not missing out on anything. Now, as mentioned, the program is comprehensive. It also includes some guest lectures from the industry in Israel and probably also some guest lectures that we're going to bring over from the Australian industry. And of course, we're not going to forget that we're all in here in order to give you a better future and a career opportunity. So there will be a number of sessions regarding the career orientation. So if we just want to have, in a nutshell, when we're talking about the skill sets, obviously this program is designed for people without prior knowledge. So we understand that when you come to this program, maybe you just use a computer as a simpler user. You know how to operate a computer. Maybe you use some Microsoft tools or other tools that you have been using, but you have no idea what programming is. No worries. We're here to teach you from zero to hero. We're going to make you full stack developers by the end of this program. We're going to start simply. So even if we're looking at teamwork, the first project you will do it will be done in a solo project. Then we're going to take you into pairs, and the second project will be done in pairs. Of course, the final project, as we are trying to make sure that you understand what working in teams, that will be done in the teams of 3 or 4 people. Even the issue of learning, we can teach you a number of technologies. We're not going to cover all the languages and all the technologies that exist in the world of development, but we're going to give you enough skills that will enable you to then be a self-learner, which is a very important skill in technology as this technology keeps on changing. So at the beginning, you will learn everything from our trainers. Later on, we will refine throughout this program, and you'll have simple topics that you will self-learn by yourself. Eventually, you will be able to learn through documentation alone, and you will not need any further support. So the importance of the skills and technologies, we've said that, the industry relevance and the practice, and obviously some of the connection that we're able to bring from Israel, which is a market where there are more than 10% of the employees in Israel work in technology. So hopefully we're able to share some of this with you. Now I want to end with 2 personal notes, if I may. One, I've personally taken a similar course like this about 30 years ago. I'm a developer myself, and I've been working as a developer, as an instructor, as a team leader. I participated as a member of an entrepreneurial team, having a seed ideas, an idea, and then went public 6 years after we started this company. So I enjoy this career. My career shifted, and my focus is now in business development, and in marketing and sales. But I have to say that all the skills that I've gained throughout the program and my experience in technology is serving me today. So I've not lost any of those skill sets, and this is a really great tool to carry on as I develop my career in technology. And the second note, hopefully that's okay to say, it is addressing you ladies. Really, we need you in technology. There are great job opportunities, high-paying jobs. There are great need for talent. And as we heard from Sean before, and I'm sure that we're going to hear this from Charlene, the employers now are offering a much more flexible working environment, which allowing a better and a healthier work-life balance. We certainly, after 30 years, I can say that we need much more diversity in the development teams, in the middle management, and ultimately in top management levels. So this is from me. Till now, I'm handing it over back to you, Dave.
Incredible. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us so early in the morning, and the valuable insight that you've added. It's just really given us another dimension of exactly what the course entails to be a full-stack developer. Right. Now, moving swiftly along, giving us an idea of what the IT job market looks like is Charlene Clark. Charlene is the MD of Catalyst Central, a very interesting business that provides business advisory services as well as HR support. Charlene is a visionary who has her own clients' needs at the forefront of a solution offering. Charlene, I have no doubt that graduates from CTIA will form part of that solution for you as well. Charlene, it is with much gratitude that we ask you to click the Take Control button, take over from here.
Perfect. And I actually think I have the slides. Awesome. Hi, everyone. So thank you for the introduction, Dave. I'm in a really interesting, fortunate position where I am the owner and managing director of Catalyst Central, and as you said, offering that end-to-end kind of business service to my clients, and with a very strong human resources focus. And we obviously implement the HR framework to really, create that culture and environment that really helps empower workforces and help people thrive. I'm also the founding partner and chief vision officer for Exodus Tech, which builds, SaaS programs or software as a service programs. So we've already, got Job Activator in the market in Australia, and we're currently building our own HR software and everything as well. So in and around this space, it's a massive passion area for me. And I'm the example of someone who can cross-skill. I'm, 15 years into human resources, and 2 years ago went, everything's going in this IT tech direction. That's where I want to go. So I'm, started a company in that space, and here I am, 2.5 years later, and I'm launching my own software, or I'm about to launch my second software. So, it's definitely a growing field, which really is which is really kind of the main element of your industry outlook when it comes to this, and why it is such a great field to get into. When you have a look at globally, we're expecting to need 5 million technology workers, and this is all encompassing. The IDC is saying we're going to need 5 million technology workers by 2027. And if you think about the fact that that's only 5 years away, that's an additional million people globally that we need to employ in order to fill the demand that exists within this space. And really that comes down to the fact that everything is going to be AI assisted. It's going to be cloud linked, which basically means everything's going to be online. 75% of enterprises just within Australia, New Zealand, we're talking publicly listed companies, are going to be using AI assisted technologies. That's going to be to control all of their governance services, managing and optimizing the way in which they use their resources, their systems. But what I find really interesting in and around this space, not to jump ahead my slides or anything like that, is the fact that augmentation and, virtual reality and moving into that augmented end-to-end business service is actually where it's going. So where previously automation's been the way, and yes, there's been robotics and coding, and in a much, simpler form, we've seen technology speed up to such an extent that in such a short amount of time, we're moving into this augmented reality that, is really fundamentally reshaping business. Estimated that 70% of the workforce is going to be working remotely by 2025. Even with COVID, it's 1 in 6 workers at the moment can work remotely. You've still actually got a fifth or sixth, no, 5/6. I'm terrible at maths. Good at HR, good at coding, terrible at maths. But people, you still need people to construct, and labourers and transport and everything like that. But what they are saying is by 2030, where it's an office-based environment, you're essentially going to be saying 100% of offices are going to have a virtual workplace. And when you think about that and you deconstruct that down, that all comes down to a full stack developer. And this is what I love about this space. You're in the future going to have office renovations that are virtual. You're no longer going to need your carpenter, your plumber, and your electrician. You're going to need your full stack developer. So when you talk about the future and what you can build in this space, yes, there's coding, but you're going to need creativity. You're going to need problem solving. You're going to need all of those soft skills to really pull it all together and have that creative mind to be like, oh my gosh, this is what I can see. Now I need to actually design that, build my back end, put the front end on it so that I can then explore and enter that universe. So to clarify, I simplified that significantly, but when you talk about an end-to-end flow, to break it down to that level just makes it so much more intuitively and naturally able to engage with what that process could look like for you. So if I speak, specifically around Australia, because that's obviously a very global outlook, and, I love that Leia's here from Israel, because it really does show that we're all going to be connecting globally now and into the future in such a way that it feels like you're face to face. I'm actually at a virtual reality hub right now. My team are in the background in a virtual reality meeting, so that's why I've got noise in the background. When we look locally and you look at the IT industry and the professional services industry, and you look at the growth of that sector over the last 20 years, it's growing by 2.5%. Now, that might sound small, but the only other industry that is faster growing is the healthcare industry, and that's at 44.5%. Now, you might go, wow, okay, look at that. You've got it as the second largest growing industry in Australia. And then you look at something like manufacturing and you go, well, the manufacturing industry is actually decreased by 4.9% over the last 20 years. What's interesting in relation to that is if you actually have a look at the contribution to GDP over in the last quarter, so September 21 for Australia, the manufacturing industry contributed 6% to Australia's GDP. Now, if over the last 20 years, the workforce has retracted by 4.9%, but it's one of the top 5 contributors to our national GDP, which is our gross domestic product, what we're actually talking about is the automation and robotics that has improved the manufacturing industry to still make it a major contributor within the economy in Australia. And the significance of that and importance of roles like full stack developers in the background that build all of this out to continue contributing within industry is hugely significant. So from that side of things, it's really that element to go, this is critical. It's critical to the future of industry and the future of Australia. And that's why job prospects are, so high within this space, which then kind of goes into job outlook. And from a national, we've got a National Skills Commission in Australia. And we've got what's called a skills priority list. So it identifies all our shortages. And this was kind of mentioned earlier, where technology workers account for 4 of the top occupations within Australia that are on the skills shortage list. So what we know is that 4 of those roles, being your developer, programmer, your software engineer, your ICT security specialist, and your ICT project manager, there's going to be national skills shortages currently, but into the future. So we know that there is a shortage and a high demand in the future, which means that as you come out of this, that 70% of you will be able to get a job within the first 2 months is actually very realistic, because that's what our current statistics at the national government level are showing us. And what we know is this is an emerging occupation, which means the government still doesn't actually have full statistics on it. And we've got to go out to industry and our major publicly listed companies to get that data. So if the government's saying there's a skills shortage and they're kind of behind on pulling that data together, you know that number's bigger than what the government's currently reporting. So your job prospects are huge. We also have a look at the fact that, when if this is specific to WA, I tried to find national, but specifically in WA, 67% of our professional vacancies are currently being filled, with the remaining 33% staying vacant. And of those 67%, only 19.5% of applicants are actually qualified. So even when you come out of this program, if you go into that and you're like, oh my gosh, but there's so many people applying for jobs, well, you're qualified. And actually of the applicants, you're only up against the other 20% that have applied. So if there's only 8 people that have applied, you're only up against one other person. So your odds of actually getting that job, again, really, really high. And like I said before, augmentation will trump automation. I love that saying. It's like one of my favorites, just because that whole virtual reality and being in that metaverse is here and it's now. And actually being a part of the group to help build that is something I'm hugely excited about and hugely passionate about. So doing a course like this is definitely your first step. So when it comes to pay, because that's important, everyone actually does care about pay. Yes, this, you jump into this field, and earlier we said, pay average salary in this field is $117,000. What I think is really interesting is then when you overlay that by all your capital cities or your major hubs and centres, if you want to move to Canberra, you're going to be earning a hot red dollar. But there's nowhere really nationally where you're going to be earning less than $100,000 coming out of this course, and then getting to be passionate and creative and, really building into something that everyone's going to be able to contribute and interact in. There is definitely a lot of pull to come into this industry. And I guess for me, I'm clearly passionate. And I clearly value this space. But if and hopefully I haven't talked over, because I know that I tend to contribute a lot in these ways.
Charlene, we're absolutely loving it. Please continue.
Okay. You know, I obviously gave my context and my history. I've gone from HR to tech. You know, within my team, just as an example, and Tristan said, like, I had permission to share this. Tristan's my new graduate. He recently went through a similar program, and coming out of that program, he got to present to a group of industry experts such as myself and other companies. And he, as part of his program, had built facial recognition software. And I immediately nabbed him. I was like, I need that guy. So we went and had coffee. When I found out more about him, he's a hairdresser by trade. So he's been a hairdresser for the last 15 years. He's just turned, I think it's 13 years. He's just turned 30. And he has changed from being a hairdresser into a full stack developer. And honestly, he is a gun. His creativity and what he can build and what he can design, and he's a hairdresser. So I feel like Tristan is the ultimate example of someone who can change field, and he loves every day. He loves coming into the office. And yeah, so it's really that, you know, if I'm an example and Tristan's an example, I hope, you know, anyone else on the call is really kind of passionate about understanding there's so much more than just coding on a computer on late nights. It's a really, really amazing field to work in. And I think I pass back to you, Dave.
I think I was hoping that you were going to carry on. I think we were all so enthralled with what you had to say. That was really incredible, and I loved how you addressed both angles of what so many get confused between what we call the skills shortage and the skills gap, and I think you addressed that very clearly and very carefully. As well as the diversity of individual, you know, taking, you know, a hairdresser, for example, and creating, you know, we've got the stereotype that you have to have, you know, a certain persona or a certain profile to make it in IT, but you very clearly outlined that is not the case, and full stack development is really for everyone. Right, now, one of the factors that allow us to stand out is our people and our consumer-centric approach to looking after our students. You'll be hard-pressed to find a better person to take up this role, other than our lead career consultant, Linus Hogan. Linus has a passion for helping and working with people, and you can be rest assured that with Linus looking after you, you're in the best hands possible. Linus is now going to take us through how your journey with CTIA will start. Linus, over to you.
Thanks, Dave. Got to say you're good at boosting my ego there, man. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So my name's Linus, as Dave said. I'm the lead consultant for CTIA. Just to give you a bit of an idea of my background, for the past 6 or so years, I've primarily been in the education industry. That's both vocational and higher ed. And that's also online and classroom based. During this time, I was the senior advisor with the Engineering Institute of Technology initially. They provide online engineering courses, and that ranges from short development type courses all the way through to master degrees, everything in between as well. I've also been an education consultant for WA with the Zero Institute, running their infection control training for industry. And then I joined the Risk2 Solution Group at the beginning of 2020, haven't looked back. So due to this, I am quite familiar. I've got extensive experience with high-end live and interactive online training. That's both from an advisory point of view, but also as a student, having completed my tertiary qualification online in a very similar format. All right, so to start with, the full stack developer program, we'll be looking at a start date of March 16th, targeted weekday lesson of Wednesday evenings from around 6 to 10, and then again on Saturday mornings from around 8:30 in the morning to about 12 p.m. These are Eastern Standard Times, so if you're in WA, I've been reminded of this recently, you're actually 2 hours earlier. The beauty of this training is there's actually no prior experience requirement. Candidate can simply book a call with myself or one of our consultants just for a conversation. During this, essentially, I'll gauge where the candidate's skill level is, where their interests lie, and so on. If required at that stage, we'll send out what we call our compatibility assessment. Now, it's nothing major. Compatibility assessment essentially is used to identify where a candidate's strengths and weaknesses sit. It'll also assist us in actually guiding the candidate down the correct pathway. Now, as stated there in the slides, I'm sure you can all see there, topics covered essentially be around logic, precision, methodological ability, verbal instruction, comprehension, data control, general reasoning. You can see as well a few of our hardware requirements are there. What's listed there is pretty standard for most Mac, PC, or laptop setups these days, and nothing too expensive either. That's your basic setup. Okay, now regarding your certification, once you're complete, essentially a candidate will be in a fantastic position should they wish to pursue their career further and apply for any of the, say, Tier 1 global certification types. Example would be the GIAC or Security Plus, all of that, of course, post-graduation. And yeah, mine is actually quite short and sweet on this one. Finally, so you're looking at your investment there. Overall, $10,995. We will have some convenient payment options available. At this stage, we do have a monthly option. Again, one of those things we can discuss when you do call or book a call with us. What's included? All your live classes, all your kits and materials, hands-on exercises, etc. All that's listed there. Mostly what you would find as standard. What stands out, of course, is you become part of Wawiwa's global alumni community, and you'll get to liaise with, sorry about that, I jumped ahead. You'll get to liaise with people like Leah and, of course, a few of the other Israelis that have a vast knowledge of the IT industry. What's required of you? Pretty standard. You've got the compatibility assessment there. We supplied you with the convenient payment options, as I said. One of the things additional we would be looking at is around 100 hours in your termed homework assignments, but you'll be looking at that as your out of regular hours work. And we're looking at an attendance rate of around 80% for the live classes. That's including your projects and all of your assessments during the course. And yeah, nice and sweet and short, exciting times ahead. Of course, extremely proud to be part of CTIA and Wawiwa. And yeah, thank you, everyone. Back to you, Dave.
Linus, thank you. We now know exactly what to do and how to do it, so let's do it. But before we get there, our chat box has been reactivated, as well as the Q&A box. So if there's anyone that would like to post a question in the chat box or put your hand up, and we can take your mute if you would like to address any questions to our panel directly, now's the time to do it. Or we can assume that our speakers today were so good that they addressed absolutely everything that you wanted to know. So let's give it a minute and see if anyone has anything to ask in our chat box, and we'll take it from there. Otherwise, yeah, please raise your hand and just let us know if you would like us to take you off mute so that you can chat to any one of us, our esteemed speakers. Is there enrollment through the website? Linus, I'm going to let you handle that one.
At this stage, your enrollment, you fill in your details on the website. I'll get a notification. I will get in touch with you. If you need the compatibility assessment, we send you that first. If it's not a requirement, I'll send you out enrollment details following them.
Peter, does that give you the information that you need? Ron's just put up our website details as well, so you can head right over there to get the ball rolling. Great, thanks Linus and Ron for that. Anyone else, burning questions? I'm going to give it another few seconds. I'd just like to empathize and just, that entering the world of full stack development and cyber in general can seem very daunting. But as you can see, you can be rest assured that there are many pathways and on-ramps to get started. There's a wide range of positions within cyber spanning over every sector, which allows you to match your skills and your experience to the position that best suits you. Keep an eye out on our social media platforms for programs that we've already launched, as well as future programs that we will be offering. And again, just a heartfelt thank you to each one of our speakers for their invaluable time, and to you, our full stack prospective graduates. All of this information and more is available on our socials, as well as our website. I bid you a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening, wherever on the planet you are, and thank you for joining us.